Hey YouTube, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Summer's over here in Vienna, Austria, and unfortunately Corona's getting stronger again too, so quite a bit of time for doing some YouTube videos. And in this video I will show you the upgrades and mods I did in my Atlas 6x6 Dodge Power Wagon 1218. I even found time to clean up my messy workbench. So what you see here is no mess. That's totally clean, and everything you see here on the bench will be shown and used in the video. As you see, of course, I've painted and weathered and made quite a lot of modifications on the body. But first, let's talk about the technical updates I did, and I have to tell you, unfortunately, I guess it's not a huge improvement in driving behavior. First of all, I changed all bushings in my Atlas 6x6 to ball bearings. All in all, those are 26 ball bearings you will need. You can see a list here. You need 6 of the inner diameter 4 mm by 8 mm, and with 3 mm you need 2 small ones 5 by 8 by 2.5, and you need 12 3 by 6 by 2.5 and 6 2 by 5 by 2.5. And as I told you in the previous video, when I disassembled the Atlas in the front axles, it will not be possible or very difficult because there are those pins that are needed for the steering cup. I found it's not that difficult. It was quite easy to do. You do not need heat. You can't use heat anyway to get the pins out or to remove some glue, because there is the plastic gear sitting on the axle shaft. And I tried acetone. I tried to put the end of the axle with a pin in acetone for some times, but this didn't bring any improvement either. But it was very easy to simply push or hammer out the pins with a tiny hammer very carefully. I did this in my Atlas and also in one of my CR24s, which have the same system and the same axle shafts, and it was not a problem at all. So carefully hammer to the pin and it will come out, and it doesn't have to get out totally. As you can see here on the picture, it's enough to push it fully inside on one side, and then you will be able to get the bushing out and the bearings in. I did it on 4 ends so far, CR24 and here, and getting those pins in was very easy too, the same way, no problem. They sit firmly. Only one pin was quite loose, and there I used strong permanent Loctite and hammered them in, and no problems. But I do not really know if it's really necessary to change the bushings to bearings. The more if you want to drive your Atlas in water, because ball bearings can rust. Bushings do not have big problems with this. However, I did it, and of course I lubricated all the gears too. And furthermore, I lubricated or put a little bit of oil in the shocks, but this doesn't help a lot. I used the thickest shock oil I had here, and I found after some time it even get out, so it was leaking out a little bit, and I don't know if it's a big improvement. Still a little bit springy. Maybe better use some different grease, silicone grease or whatever. And of course I exchanged those horrible screws, those Phillips head screws that are Loctited permanently to the frame, to hex screws, to much better hex screws. As you've seen in my first video, I broke some screws and I couldn't get out one of those screws, so in the front I had to use a different mounting position for the shocks. What we are most interested in, and what's the most difficult part, are the tires and the rims. So those tires, they look quite nice, they are large, but they are not super sticky. I made custom tire foams, which probably will be a little bit of improvement, and I put weights into the rims, which is quite easy because those are nice plastic beadlock wheels or beadlock rims. The tires without any weights do have 17.15 grams about. Here's already a tire with paint. I painted the rims, and I put one layer of lead weights to the rear and the center tires, so they had after this 24.4 grams, and I put 2 layers to the front tires, and they do have now 30.1 gram. And as you can remember from my first video, the Atlas is a wonderful, perfect crawler. It's really strong and can climb quite steep inclines, and 55 degrees was too much. So as you can see here again in the video, that's the video of my Atlas when it was new. It couldn't climb 55 degrees. 54 was the maximum, and it had big problems and could not climb an incline of 55 degrees.
Wow.
And now I hoped that the climbing behavior will improve, and with the wheel weights it will maybe be able to climb 55 degrees. And you can see this on the video here. And now 55 degree with wheel weights. That's the Atlas as it is now with wheel weights.
Yes, 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 yes.
Nearly. And I lost the mirror. And it again was not really able to climb 55 degrees. So there was probably maybe a tiny little bit of improvement, but it was not really able to climb the 55 degree incline. It fell down. You see my mirrors, they are still on. I will show this to you later. They are quite sturdy mounted and even withstand rollovers. However, so the problem is probably not the wheel weight. The problem is probably the compound of the tires. They are not super sticky. And so we should find any upgrade tires, and this turned out really difficult. Some people thought that maybe the 1.0 RC four-wheel drive tires would fit to the rims of the Atlas 6x6, but unfortunately they do not. I do have here the 1.0 Rock Crushers from RC four-wheel drive. They are from my 1/18 Bronco, and also 1.0 Dirt Grabbers, and I was not able to get those tires to the Atlas rims. I tried quite hard and for some time, but the diameter of the rims is slightly different, and I was not able to mount those tires to the rims of the Atlas 6x6. Furthermore, the tires of the other 1/18 Hobby Plus crawlers, this Toyota style truck, they have about the same size as the tires of the Atlas 6x6 do have, but they have smaller rims. They have the rims of the 1/24 crawlers, so the CR24, those are those ones, and only larger tires. Of course, you could mount those tires to the Atlas if you have 6. I didn't try it. I have to modify those tires first, and they are super soft. They need foam and maybe weights. And then you have those narrower tires, and maybe this will be an improvement. I really don't know. What would be perfect, of course, would be tires of the WPL trucks. Those is the super soft compound, and those tires, they are really awesome, but they won't fit, and the rims of WPL, as I did already tell you, will not fit to the Atlas anyway. And there are upgrade tires for the Euro AV or Hobby Plus or whatever, and the RGT trucks for the 1/24s. And those are super sticky compound, but those are small tires. This is this type, and they won't fit to the rims of the Atlas. They would fit to the rims of the 1/18 crawlers, because the rims, as already mentioned, are the same size. However, then you have those tiny tires on the Atlas, and that's for sure not good for climbing behavior. So I don't really know where I can find tires for the Atlas. I do have quite a ton of micro tires, but also those lossy tires I found in my mess, they will not fit either. So there doesn't seem to be a adequate tire. Those tires of the Atlas, they look really good, and you probably wouldn't like your car to run with those tiny ones. But what fits to the rims and also quite well to the Atlas are those tires. Those are, I use them in my Basher Rocksta, but they are from my Graupner Punisher XXS, which is only a rebrand or very similar to the HBX 298B, the Devastator. Those are beadlock wheels, and yeah, they look quite cool, and you can also buy them separately. They are not really cheap, about 20 bucks for 4, but they are not super sticky. So they look cool, but I do not know if they would be an improvement compared to the stock tires of the Atlas. And since I do only have 4, I cannot really test them now. Maybe I will order 4. We will see. However, I do have 6 RC four-wheel drive tires, and I can mount them to the Atlas. I think the compound is a little bit better, but the tires are small. But if the Atlas will be able to climb 55 degrees with those tires, then it's for sure better tires will improve the climbing ability of this super truck. However, the RC four-wheel drive axles do have 2mm shafts, and the axle shafts of the Atlas are 2.5mm. No problem for mounting the tires, but for mounting the lock nut screw, because the 5mm nut driver is a little bit too large to get in. The 4mm nut driver is perfect for the 4mm nuts of the RC four-wheel drive trucks, and the 5mm one is a little bit too large, but I of course do have to use the 5mm nut, so I will have to use some pliers to make the final turns. However, I will try this. I will try the smaller ones of the Bronco in the front, 2 Bronco tires, and the 4 of the D90 in the back, and then we will see if it's able to climb 55 degrees with those tires. So here it is, Atlas 6x6 with RC four-wheel drive wheels. I put the wheel nuts on the other way around so I could get at least a little bit of grip with my nut driver. However, the rims unfortunately do not fit really well. You would need a special type of nuts or maybe some shims and shorter nuts to mount those, and I found that the rims of the Bronco were easier to mount than the rims of the D90. So I don't know, maybe they don't look that bad. The white ones look quite okay, but also the silver ones. However, let's check 55 degrees if the Atlas is able to climb 55 degrees with better tires, tiny tires. Let's do it. 55 degrees, Atlas 6x6 with RC four-wheel drive tires and rims. Front rock crashers from the Bronco, and the 4 rear tires and wheels are dirt grabbers with the rims from the D90. So let's see if better tires make a better climber and if 55 degrees are possible now. Yes, check this out, guys. It climbs 55 degrees. Wow! Drag brake does not stop it anymore. Atlas, you are a really cool super microcrawler. Let's try it again. No problems. Wow! 55 degrees. I love this microcrawler. Well, let's try 56 degrees. More than 56 degrees. Atlas, can you do it? Yes, he nearly can. Come on. So, Nearly, or it does it. So 56.3, so about 56 degree is probably the most you can do. Also with the RC four-wheel drive tires and wheels. However, 55 degrees without any problem. Atlas, respect. So here it is, and with a little better tires he could climb 55 degrees with the RC four-wheel drive tires. So it would be really cool to find upgrade tires which have more sticky compound, and then it could probably climb even better. And those wheels do not have any wheel weights. They are metal alloy beadlocks, but there are no wheel weights inside, so I could probably even improve the climbing behavior if I would put some weights inside, but I won't do this now. Now he will get his stock tires again because they look quite cool. So every car with its own tires again. If some of you guys find upgrade tires for the Atlas, please post in the video description. I would be very interested to get cool looking better tires. I don't know, maybe someone of you has 6 of those Devastator tires and maybe they are an upgrade. I would be really interested because as you have seen, better tires, better climbing behavior. What I forgot to mention, with the shocks I use the stronger, the harder springs in the front now because of all those upgrades and interior. My Atlas is now a little bit heavier than it was before, and with the soft springs it was about that way. So harder springs in the front and the soft springs that come with the car, mounted to the car when you get it, in the back. And what upgrades did I do? I made one functional upgrade. Of course I put additional lights into the bumper, which did not look very good, but you've probably already seen it. So yes, they are okay, but they are not fantastic. But I made a kind of semi-functional winch. Fake winch? Yes or no? That's quite cute. That's a hook of a RBRC crappy winch, WPL, not the WPL winch, the RBRC winch, and rubber band. There are some winches for 1/10 you can buy now that work that way too. And I simply used black rubber band to make a hangman's knot. Was quite difficult, and it runs that way and is mounted to one of the shock towers. And on the other side I use, maybe you can see it from the back side, probably not. Here is on the gearbox I mounted a rubber ring, and this rubber runs through this rubber ring and then goes back to the right shock mount. Is mounted here, and that way I get a little bit of extension. So it's more or less semi-functional. What else? What I really like are my mirrors. And you have already seen those mirrors, or the mirror mounts are quite sturdy, so they don't fall off easily. I simply made them using 0.8 millimeter steel rod, steel wire, whatever, because I found this from super old helicopters. Otherwise I would have used silver normal 0.8 or 1 millimeter steel and painted it. And for the mirrors I of course used some mirror foil, no problem, but the bodies are those stands or whatever. You get this stuff for super cheap, and you can, that's for the bottom of anything, something like this, I don't know the English word, and get it for a few bucks on eBay or on Ali, and that's quite a nice mirror. And I mounted them inside. I simply drilled a hole into the body, and inside I used foam. Put one small foam piece and bent of course the steel, and with a little bit of Sugar E6000 glued it to the top, and that way they are really flexible and not firmly mounted, so they stay in place really nice. And if the car rolls over, they can bend quite a lot and nothing can break. Those mounts, they are only fake mounts. They are only for the look. And then most work, the front window. The front window I found, and I thought and I think the front window of the Atlas 6x6, if it should be a Dodge Power Wagon, was too small and I didn't really like it. Where is the original window? That's the original window. And so I cut it, and you see the new window is quite a little bit larger, and this looks much better in my eyes. However, this was quite a lot of work and not that easy, because the old window, this Lexan part, is not flat and it was not totally symmetrical, so I tried around quite a little bit with thin Lexan or plastic, transparent plastic, and made a frame. Finally I used really thick Lexan, because the body of the Atlas, that's really thick, sturdy Lexan. This is the Lexan I used, is from a Proline SR5 body, so that's a 1/10 body, and the Atlas Lexan is about the same thickness, or is the same thickness, or even a little bit thicker, so that's really sturdy. That's really super cool. It's not as the Lexan of those, is this Lexan, the plastic of those bodies, which will break easily and fast. No, Atlas is a tough guy, so that's a super tough body. And finally I cut the window out of this thick Lexan from the Proline body, simply glued it into the opening, and then made the frame fitting and glued it to the top. It's by far not perfect, and it was quite a lot of work, so don't know if I can recommend it. However, I do not like the tiny windows of the stock Atlas if you want a Dodge Power Wagon. What else? To remove the Atlas 6x6, that's easy, because the body is not painted outside. It's matte, yes, but it's painted inside. It's painted from inside, and outside there is only flat clear, and there is a thick layer of flat clear outside, so you can easily remove the Atlas 6x6 logo that's here, and then sand it with 1500 or 2000 off-grid sandpaper and then put a flat matte onto it again. However, the matte of the Atlas is super matte. I used Vallejo matte clear and the Atlas flat was flatter. So if you look, now you can't see it anymore because I used wash. Yeah, and the logos were quite a lot of work. I played around for days with my printer and always try to make new ones. They are far from perfect, so I do have a normal printer and I am really not good in 3D constructing and printing. I'm a totally noob. I used a 0.2 millimeter nozzle and made a lot of tries through. Again, tried to make the letters 0.4 millimeter wide, so 0.2 by 2. However, this was probably even more work than doing the window, and the result is if you would take a closer look, you would say it's bad, but from far away it looks okay. What I did do first, because this Atlas is black, I wanted to make, or I did make, the logo black, and I even had glued it in black to the body. But if it's black, you won't be able to read anything, because with the shadows, black is black. So I removed them again and made new ones and painted them with Tamiya silver chrome. Black primer, Tamiya silver chrome, and glossy clear. So don't take a closer look, then you will like it. If you take a closer look, you won't like it anymore. Mirrors, the same. The mirrors are, I used tiny screws, so they are really firmly mounted, and I printed those mirrors out of flexible material, TPU. Not really pretty, but from far away they look good, I think. And the cage, normal Vallejo primer, some Tamiya or whatever, and all this stuff with different Tamiya gunmetal and silver stuff. That's not really a huge effort. What I forgot, and I was angry afterwards, I didn't remove those clamps. I don't know what it's for. First I thought maybe there will be some upgrade or some parts, but later I thought, what's that for? It's only ugly, and I should have cut them before painting, but I did not. And I also painted the rims and the body. That's the easy stuff, the fun stuff, you know, with a little bit of Tamiya weathering master, a little bit of wash, and looks much better that way. And inside there is a driver, as you can see here, and I printed a super simple interior. The driver figure is the same size as I already did use for my Mini C 4x4. You get those for cheap. Take a look for 3.75 inch figures. Look for Indiana Jones figures. The driver here is an Indiana Jones figure. So those are those ones. They are super cheap on eBay and AliExpress or Men in Black. Of course, the driver doesn't have legs anymore because I made a super simple interior. As already mentioned, I'm a totally noob in 3D printing and all this construction. But super simple design. This is not screwed to the body or anything. It's only clamped to the battery compartment. You will have to shorten the left clamp a little bit, so it's only like a hook inside, and in front that's held only by this small step here by the on-off switch. It's hard to see inside here, but it works perfectly, so this was not a problem at all. And then I made a steering wheel, of course, and so that we will not see here through the body inside I made a super simple kind of dashboard without any details. Maybe you can see it sits here below the windshield. So that's it. Super simple. Battery is still normal position. I don't use those nasty rubber rings anymore. I thought I will use Velcro to mount the battery to fix it, but it was not necessary at all, because the driver sits that far backside that it clamps with the driver. And I made a fake backrest so that the battery cannot be seen, and this was not that difficult. All this was quite fun, the interior. The only nasty thing, as always, was the battery, because you can mount it in the normal position as it was before, but I made an adapter for the longer wire here. I don't know why. I tried it around a lot. The main problem was not to see the wires, and mainly the balance wire and plug. So after I did all this, I was a little bit angry, because I thought, why wouldn't I use different batteries with this type of plug? That's Jst PH 3-pin, and those are those plugs and wires that are used in, for example, the old 130X blade helicopters. I had to have a lot of them, and in my 2S UMX planes, and they are super cool. You use this plug also for balance charging. Probably many of you know those. You get those boards where you simply plug them in, or larger boards with different types, and they are balance charged, or this kind of stuff, and I love it. And I do have a ton of 180 to 450 2S batteries with this type of plug. That's a 260. They are quite large. That's 260 milliamp hours. That's 600 milliamp hours, but probably even much better batteries, and I would not have had all this mess with this balance plug. The battery comes with this Tamiya style plug. It's this plug they use now in all those small Hobby Plus or RGT crawlers for 1 and 2S. I don't really know why. I highly would prefer if they used Jst PH plugs. However, it's not necessary to have an extra power wire and plug. You could even use this Jst Xh Balance Plug. So that's this plug. You can use it because that's 24 coach wire, as this is, for powering up your car and for balance charging. Therefore, you can also use one of those boards. So I will probably simply cut the wire. Don't cut both at the same time, of course. Cut one by one and then seal them, and maybe use the Jst Xh, or I'll crimp Jst PH. That's this UMX plug. That's this plug of my UMX planes and 130X and blade MCPX 2S helicopters, and crimp it to those wires. Of course, crimping is not really easy in those plugs. They are 2 millimeters, so they are the Jst PH. They are the easiest ones with 2 millimeter. If you're interested in this, I highly can recommend this Engineer crimping pliers if you're making your own plugs with the small Jst Sh, GH, PH and ZH, the 1.0, 1.25, 1.5 and 2 millimeter plugs. So if I would make this again now, I would change this. There is no need for this battery with 2 wires, and for sure the Atlas will not draw more power than a 130X helicopter or a small plane. So this would work fine, and I will probably change this. Atlas 6x6 probably finished. I probably won't upgrade the electronics because I think the motor is really good and I like the drag brake of the ESC, so I didn't have any problems with the servos so far. We will see. And of course I would like upgrade shocks. They would be really cool if they are not too expensive, and if someone of you guys finds tires that fit to the Atlas, then please give a message. But that's it now for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope to see you in the next video, and as you know, I'll be back.